Tom, what's happening,
Man,
man?
what's going on?
Simply living here, man.
Uh,
So much going on. It's like I feel like time has gone completely fucking bananas again.
Somebody said, "Oh, that was a couple of years ago." I was like, "Wait, was COVID happening?" Because,
Right.
like,
In my mind, there's a
then
line, right?
I'm pretty sure I've been reincarnated since then.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're not wrong. I
I'm
mean,
not even on the same timeline anymore. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if it's because I'm in the middle of this like program and in my life food wise right now is really, really regimented.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and with that comes like a bit of sort of checking out because like
You don't
you're
have to
just
think about it.
yeah, you're just like on this schedule,
Hey,
right?
look,
And
man.
you know,
I've done the crazy diets too,
no,
and
no, I
that
mean,
was one of the things I loved about it. It's like
no, yeah, it's
you
great.
know what you're having today.
Well, but here's where it gets weird, right? Like
Yeah.
because I checked out of that, I feel like I've actually sort of checked into a bunch of things that keep my mind off of that.
Yeah.
Probably more than I would have if I wasn't checked out.
Honestly, I've noticed we've been more active chatting, and I'm like, where the fuck is this guy finding this time?
Yeah, well,
He's like not thinking about food.
yeah. Well, it's not just food, I've realized. It's actually like it's food, but it's also all the things that are food adjacent that I only am now starting to realize are
Like what? The
real
ritual
things.
or
So there's ritual. That's great way to put it, right? Like the whole, you eat a bunch of food, you get stuffed, you have a great conversation, and then you eat a big dessert, and then you have some more wine and maybe an after dinner drink, maybe 4 after dinner drinks. Like it's a whole thing. And that's all super fun. But like I think the problem in a post-COVID world, professionally, the pace is so fast that like you're going out to dinner a lot more than you normally would have because quite frankly, like that's where you can meet a client or that's where you don't have time because you had like 85 things and the only thing to do is to go out. Like, so for the last several years, and I mean, I cut my teeth in New York City. And so like we ate out 6 nights.
That was normal. You didn't have like, a big kitchen.
No, you have no kitchen, you have no refrigerator, you have no cabinets. Like there's no, you can't like stockpile. I mean, you could, but it's easier to just go out. Food's cheap enough out. But like, so that's the problem. Like
it was cheap enough out. It's not cheap enough out anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
But the other day, the kids, we got Taco Bell. And I'm like, shit, we could have gone to an authentic sit-down Mexican restaurant for like the price of 12 tacos. I think we spent $45 on a 12-pack.
That's crazy.
And it's not something we do often. It's not like we're huge fast food people, but we're like, all right, is it gluten-free? Yes. Is it garbage? Absolutely.
You sure?
Is it easy enough? Yes.
But we create these rituals, right? Like
absolutely.
You go out and you do those things, right? And then so when ritual becomes there was this thing that this guy said once that ritual separates experiencing from just doing, right? And and I think that's kind of like how I feel about this, right? Like food became a ritual, therefore it had a reverence about it, and therefore you sort of just did the thing all the time, right? Like every time I went to a restaurant, every single time, unless I was on some crazy diet, I had 2 drinks.
Did you drop reverence in there just because we're called Irreverent Health?
No, I didn't. But I mean, there you go. Yeah,
but absolutely, man. And I think I booked the appointment with Mark, the Reset It guy,
sweet.
Solely because I feel like I've ritualized a lot of the things I've even told myself about myself.
Sure.
Like, oh no, you program, you do this, you don't do that, right? And here I am. I know you're on your super strict diet, and I'm enjoying a beautiful soju that's yogurt flavored.
Oh, wow.
It's insane. I can't believe how much I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. But see, that's the thing. I like the ritual of drinking. So there goes to my next step, right?
Yeah.
Step 2 on this is drinking. Okay. Well, I'm not doing any of that, and so I start to realize I'm like, when you open a bottle of wine, I'm from California, you close a bottle of wine. Like it just, That's the cycle. I don't open a bottle of wine and save it for tomorrow. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
Like,
it's only 4 glasses.
Yeah, it's only 4 glasses. To wit, my wife always scoffs and, throws her head back in like disbelief, like, oh, how dare you? And she goes, it's 6 glasses, is a bottle. I'm like, no. That's incorrect. 4. And maybe she might be right, but here's the problem. Like, again, that's my ritual with wine.
Yeah.
I open a wine, I finish a wine. Now, interestingly, that same goes true whether you and I have 2 glasses each, or if I have 3 and you have 1, or you have 3 and I have 1, or I have all 4. My ritual with this wine is identical.
Yeah.
Very rarely would I then order a second bottle of wine at a restaurant. That's almost never a thing, right? Like I might get a cocktail or something, but I generally don't do that.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha.
But again, it's ritual.
It is. And I think it's funny because like even this reminds me of this, this is like tangential, but it's still within the ballpark, right? There's two young monks and they're like, hey, can we pray while we're smoking? Can we smoke while we're praying? And, they go in and they go see the master, and the first one goes, they go in separately and he goes, can I smoke while I'm praying? The master cracks him in the head with his cane. He runs out of the room. He goes to the second one. He goes, what did he say? He said, he told me to have you ask him. So the second guy goes in and says, can I pray while I'm smoking? And just that flipping it, like, am I turning the act into a ritual versus am I degrading a ritual by doing something else?
Sure.
And it's a very interesting way to frame it. And even like, cause now like the one thing that I learned from all these strict, crazy diets, whether it was the HCG or like the keto diet or going real hardcore into intermittent fasting, was like, you start to change what your taste buds are like, and you start to change what you're craving. And you're probably, what are you, 4 weeks in now?
For day 3 of week 4, yeah.
Day 3 of week 4. So like you're probably noticing that now, where it's like, oh my God, like I'll sit down, smoke a joint, and crush a bag of chips. But if I don't do that for a few weeks,
sure,
and then you go back to those chips, you're like, Jesus, these are greasy. Oh my God, they're salty. Why do they taste so artificial? And it's like all of those things hit you. I was told today I need to unplug for a little bit. And I think that's part of it too, right? Like you're in hyperdrive and you ritualize everything, even if you don't know it. Like, sure, I know I'm going to be pissed off when I drive home. So guess what? I find myself in situations to get pissed off while I'm driving home.
Sure.
And it's that cart in front of the horse in front of the cart kind of situation. I don't know how much of it is, my intention creating my reality and vice versa, but I'd love to be able to unpack that and figure that out.
And I'm interested to see if that kind of happens with him, because I have it up. I just haven't booked it yet, but I'm going to.
You got so much going on. I think I would get through this program first.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I wasn't going to do it while I'm doing this program.
Yeah.
And honestly, I just, in an effort to not break our streak, we'll get to the AI stuff and that towards the end. But
AI and psychedelics.
Yeah. I don't think I've got anything for psychedelics right now, but
I got you. Well, I don't know. Are they on the menu with your whole reset?
Like that is not sort of, that's not mentioned one way or the other. So
I wonder, I mean, I would almost be worried with pot, because I know with me, if I smoke something, I want to eat.
See, I don't. That's another thing I think has been ritualized, is because like I don't feel like that at all, and so I'm.
And is that something that you? But is that something you would normally do?
So I think one thing that's definitely changed with me in my life is that I absolutely view cannabis as medicine now.
Yeah.
I don't. And like, even when we go to like guys' weekends or anything like that, where everyone's just like, kind of like, more on the recreational side, I'm still not, right? Like I'm still,
are you still consuming with them though? I mean,
no, of course, but I
get that.
But now instead of, so I should back up a half step. It's not that it's not recreational, but it's recreational as a byproduct of a pretty specific plan of what strain, what
I gotcha.
size, you know,
I gotcha.
what are my input variables and what are my desired output variables, and then I make decisions based on that,
I
right?
feel like you're foreshadowing for something that we're not going to talk about right now, but we might in a few months.
Yeah, we might. Yeah, but so that's kind of why I connect to that idea, because like honestly, I think it's a huge difference. And actually, I had this sort of weird feeling. I talked to a friend of mine who was using microdoses, like in my view, incorrectly.
Right? I gotcha.
And it became pretty clear that his only intention was really recreational. And I was like, maybe it's because my relationship with psychedelics is what it is that I respect the shit out of it. And I'm like, look, man, I'm not really into this on a recreational level.
I gotcha.
Right? Like I don't view it as recreation. I actually take its planning and execution extremely seriously. And like, I don't think it is a recreational activity.
But I also, and you can tell me this, if you feel like it was like clearly not always like that for you. I mean, right?
Certainly
I mean, when you
not.
were using when you were younger, and I think that might be some of the maturity that comes with it, right? And
possibly.
And I think at least you and I are aligned in our goals of like, look, we want to see kind of what's out there, right? Like we want to see what's out there, not just in the health realm, but in our own consciousness, in all of that. And we're using all of these things, even ritualizing them as a tool to get from A to B, right? Like I never did, and I've been pretty candid with this, I never had any psychedelic experience until the last couple of years. And even then, I mean, like you might be like, wow, your entire experience with it has been like, I had a big bender one weekend when I was 18, you know, it's like, and I'll be like, yeah, but this is where I'm at. And this is what I'm trying to get out of it. And I don't think, you know, clearly you haven't made me feel weird about that, but it's something that like, I respect the hell out of too. And I've read way too much to go like, yeah, let's just fucking see what a whole handful of acid feels like. Yeah, you know, that's not the goal either, you know?
No, and that's the thing though. It's no longer the goal, right? So yeah, so you're right. We all kind of evolved through this, but here's where I've noticed though, is ritual kind of goes both ways, right? Mm-hmm. So what I have done quite a bit of in the last 4 weeks and 3 days is create rituals out of things that I was almost ritualized prior, but now with a little extra mental bandwidth, like I could, like, for example, I used to do stretching while meditating. Like it was something that I was getting into right before I did this. And it started to occur to me that all I was doing was stretching with my eyes closed, right? Like it wasn't, which could be meditative. Trust me. I feel like that gets those, what is the gamma waves kind of stirring,
kind of going,
right? Right. So I get it. Like it felt better to do something than to sit there. So I started stretching because I was kind of overweight and, you know, not feeling great. So I feel like stretching was helpful. But then I got the Beamer, sort of like always one of those things I had to fit in. Now I'm like, no, I'm going to meditate on the Beamer mat. I'm going to use my Violite and I'm going to use my Sensate and I'm going to do 10-minute meditation with all that. And then I'm going to take off the Sensate. I'm going to do a 10-minute with the Muse. I'm going to keep with my 20 minutes of meditation a day, but now it's much more intentional.
Yeah.
And I've ritualized those in a completely, like, I'm no longer flexible. Like that's the morning cocktail, right?
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm doing that.
But even that, right?
That's like happening.
Yeah,
right?
You kind of have to evolve it to where you're at too, right? So one thing's like rituals are supposed to be so regimented and regulated. We do this now, we do that now. Like I remember, and I know you've said this, like you don't run with headphones. You want to connect with that, right? My mentor said, like, look, if you're working out and you're listening to music and you're, you know, BSing with your friends and you're dicking around at the gym, you're not being intentional with your workout. Like, but he was so rigid with so many things that like, no, if you're going to look at anything, you look at the arm that you're lifting with, right? You have the intention of those muscles. And he was so intense with that like, I don't even know if he, you know, and I mean, he meditated like at least 20 minutes 2 times a day, might've been 3. But like, I think if I showed him this headband, he'd be like, well, as long as it's getting you to do it, you know,
well,
but after that, it would have served no purpose in his life. Right. No.
Sure.
Why do I need that? You know, and to his point, maybe like you absolutely don't need it. Does it make me quantify it? Does it hold me accountable? Does it do all those things? Yeah. Do I need it? Absolutely not. But
no, but you know what
I
it does
enjoy
do? I'd argue that you do, because if you didn't, you wouldn't have the willpower to do 2,000 days of straight meditation.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
you know,
because if nothing else, it holds you fucking accountable.
Yeah. And
know,
we're
like,
horrible at being accountable.
And
we're horrible.
So,
we're horrible at looking at ourselves. We're horrible at looking at ourselves without the bias of, you know, like, oh, I didn't mean to do that, so it's not so bad, right? And
but I flim-flam on this a lot.
Yeah.
Like, basically all the time, because I'm like, dude, streaks. Again, this is one of those things, though. There's a differentiator between like a good ritual and an unhealthy ritual.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's also, this applies here too, right? Like, I can feel passionately. I'm having struggle holding both of these things true at the same time.
Yeah.
Having a passion for the flexibility of a system. Like, I can meditate every day for 2,000 days. And like, I appreciate and can get excited and behind the drive it takes to do it for 2,000 days.
Yeah.
But I also need to be equally okay if something happens and I couldn't for that day, because it doesn't mean that I haven't gotten 2,000 days of consistency and missed one. And yes, technically I start over, which
but you're not starting at zero. Yeah. And I also feel like, look, that's why my ritual starts in the morning. Why? Because more than likely, if something's going to go wrong, it's not going to happen within that first hour of me being awake.
No, totally.
You know, except maybe a Monday morning heart attack, you know, because that seems to be how guys tend to go out, highest cortisol levels, most stressful thing. But within that, you know, if something was to disrupt that pattern, it's major enough where it's like, yeah, I'm not going to be concerned about, like, something's wrong in my life that clearly is more important than a little number on a phone screen.
Right. But here's the thing, though. You know, you're going to be doing the thing because it's part of your ritual now. Like, and you don't know, is it the snake's mouth or the tail? We're talking about, like, you're basically saying it's just one circle, right?
Yeah.
You're motivated to do it, but maybe you do it because you're motivated. Like, I mean, you know, it doesn't.
Well, you know, I also feel like, and to Muse's credit, they have this peak alpha state thing now. And I signed up for the beta. So you got to do, I think, 9 calibration meditations. I'm already in like the actual thing. And it's like, I got optimal one day, and then I got great 2 days, and then I got optimal one day, and the last 2 days have just been good. And I'm like, you know, I've been feeling off.
Interesting.
And it's like that alpha focused brain. I know I was like singing fucking cartoon jingles while I was meditating. Like, I can't fucking shut my brain off.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you're distracted. It's like, yeah, no, I feel it, man. You know, so it's nice to have that like, no, you're right. What you're feeling is right. But at the same time, I know when I'm dicking around that I can't focus when I'm meditating. You know, how can you not? You know?
I love that it teaches you. I mean, look, Sarah makes fun of me all the time for this, because I'm like, I hold my chest. She goes, "You're not having a heart attack." And I was like, because it used to be like, I'd freak out, be like, I don't know, maybe I'm having a heart attack. And it became a thing because it was happening all the time. Then I realized that, like, I am just so in tune with my body that, like, literally any shift in equilibrium, and I'm fucking like, what is that? Like, you know, like, because I'm instantly aware of it, you know, and it's not like, you know, like, I don't know. I just have this, like, relationship now. Not now. I've had it for years and years. I mean, you know, 20 years. But
yeah,
I'm not, you know, this last couple weeks where you're basically like focusing nothing but then on that, I'm like starting to realize, I'm like, so these are rituals that I might want to rethink. And here's some other rituals that I want to, like, shore up because I'm feeling like it's a good time to do it. And like, then I start realizing all these other things kind of fall in place.
Right? Absolutely. Right. You can't, when you start lining up certain things and you take, like, this is the thing when like Einstein and like fucking, Jobs and all them, like, oh, we have 3 of the same outfit and that's it.
Yeah, sure.
Right. You know, why I'm taking one variable out of my day, and it's not a heavy lift. I don't sit there and contemplate, am I wearing my, your wife, my wife t-shirt, or, am I wearing my like anti-fascist workout t-shirt?
Yeah, sure.
But like at the same time, it is me rifling through that, drawer going like, all right, which shirt? And it's seconds, but like if I got 15 black t-shirts and that's it, and then all the shorts are the same or all the pants are the same, I'm not, that's one less decision. That's one less little iota of mental data I have to contribute somewhere else. But yeah.
I have 4 piles of t-shirts in a t-shirt drawer.
Yeah.
And I have a counterclockwise rotation. And I just grab the next, and I pull shirts out of one stack.
Yeah.
And when that gets to the bottom, I take I move everything one
to pile 2. Yeah.
To pile, I just rotate it counterclockwise. I don't know how that happened, but it makes. I do the same thing with iTunes now on my phone. I've got like 50,000 songs on my fucking phone, and I'll just hit go on all of them. And my kids hate it because they're like, "What are you listening to?" Because it'd be like track 8 from the Moana soundtrack, followed by like Bone Thugs and Harmony. Followed
it's like so, but like that. My Spotify playlist is like 7,000 songs, and it's like, is that Tibetan throat chanting? Yes, correct. It is. Yeah. And then it's Snoop Dogg. And then there's a little bit too much anti-fascist Italian music lately.
Oh my god!
But it's great. I don't speak it, but then I have to like Google the lyrics, and then I get teary, and I'm like, this is when they attacked Musa.
Oh my god!
It's like, but yeah, man, I it's so funny. We're talking about rituals and then we're talking about randomness, and there's kind of that balance there in life, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, and the other, I guess the thing that also kind of comes into focus, like, and I'm sure this, I expect all of this to kind of soften as soon as I'm back to like eating regular and everything like that, because then I'll just be back in it. But like for the time being, I think it's pretty interesting to see that, like, it's not about a silver bullet. And I think this kind of reinforces my sort of general affinity for the biohacking kind of ethos.
Yeah.
It's not about like one thing. It's not like, oh, if I take this CoQ10 pill, like my life gets better, or if I lift that particular kettlebell. Or if I know what is it, RKC workouts or whatever they're called, RK. What's the Russian?
Oh, the Russian kettlebell ones. I don't know, but their measurements are a pood, and I love that. That's just so hysterical to me. It's 1 pood, it's 2 pood, it's 3 pood.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But like, it's just this. It's a soup pot, right? Like you gotta like And when I've got this thing, man, I've got like we talked about this a little bit last week, but like, dude, my seasonal allergies have completely disappeared. Like that's interesting to me. Like I'm not.
What can you do to keep that away? Right.
Well, that's my question. What was I doing to make them here in the first place?
So I'm wondering if these guys are going to have you slowly introduce those foods, which may be inflammatory, so you can go, yeah, maybe this one's not for me.
Well, that's the case. You're supposed to eat one new thing at the end of this for 3 weeks. You add one new thing each day.
So it sounds like such an intelligent, like, amalgamation of so many different diets, because when you walked me through it, I'm like, all right, I've seen that before, but I haven't seen it put together like that. Even when we were talking about like, oh, no 2 of the same proteins within a 2-day window.
Yeah, so anything I ate today I can't eat until 2 days from now.
Yeah, I think that is pretty savvy too, because this is the one thing with gluten, and sometimes you can cheat and get lucky, right? If you haven't had gluten in a while and you go to fucking Olive Garden, and if you go to Olive Garden, I'm fucking mad at you. But you know what I'm saying? Like, but if you go and you have like breadsticks, and that didn't upset me for some reason. That doesn't mean you're not sensitive to it. It just means that you don't have enough in your system to actually trigger the response. And that second or third encounter, you're going to be like bent over in pain because your stomach hurts.
Sure.
And I think that's going to be the same thing with anything that become inflamed. And certainly like allergies are much more nuanced and complicated, where it's not just, you smelt that pollen and now your sinuses are inflamed. It's like, well, you smelt the pollen and you have the dairy proteins in you.
Yeah.
And this complex thing where it's, and I think that's what makes healthcare so crazy and weird, where it's like, I just need to turn up my metabolism. And then you throw up the chart of all the metabolic pathways, and it literally just looks like a fucking maze. It's just insanely complicated. And you're like, well, which one of these is doing it? And it's probably like 15 of them. It's not one.
Well, and that's where I'm kind of like, it's not about one thing or another. It's about all of them. So because I'm doing all of this, I don't have allergies anymore. I don't have heartburn anymore. I haven't had, heartburn in weeks.
Now that may be the wine, man. I hate to tell you.
No, I know.
It's not the wine.
Yeah, it's probably, well, no. I mean, I drank wine when I could, but my poison was more gin.
I gotcha. And by the way, man, I picked this bottle up just because it looked cool, and this is not an advertisement for this. This bottle of mezcal, it's so it's so angular and bizarre.
Yeah, that's cool. It's like the
it tastes like I'm drinking a campfire in the best possible way. I can't explain it to you.
I got it. I like tequila. There's a lot of nuance there. It's a lot of fun, right?
Well, that's and the mezcal is always so smoky.
Yeah.
So like that's like my jam. I drink a tea that my wife is like, it smells like you went out to the fire pit and just threw some charcoal in the thing, and I'm like, I
really want a smoker. I had one and it's broken. And
man, I gotta tell you, I will show you the video that I used to make the old like Oscar the Grouch tin can smoker.
Sure.
And I've been doing pretty damn good with it. I gotta say, it's a hot plate, a grill grate, and then some bolts. And it is like the most low budget way of doing it. But it's just fun, I just go out there and, I'll smoke something, and, it'll be an excuse to stand around outside near like a warm can for 4 hours.
And it works?
It works pretty good, man. It works pretty good. Now, the only problem is if it gets too cold, there's no insulation on there. It's not like a green egg where once that core is nice and heated, you get that nice infrared heat coming back in. This is, and then I'm like, I can go get some insulation. And I'm like, no. Then I just might as well buy a real smoker.
Right.
It's like at
they're
that
not
point.
That expensive. I mean, I was looking at
They really aren't. I think it was like a fun, like,
sure.
Let me go to Home Depot and see what we can do here.
But what's cool about it? It's like I've cooked almost all my food for the last couple of weeks on a grill or my Blackstone.
Well, that makes sense because I mean, if you're going super high protein,
sure,
why not?
Yeah, and everything's been on that. But now I'm like sitting there going, if I had a smoker out here, I could like that'd be like the other arsenal, right? Like the other tool in the arsenal. You're like, because like there's some interesting stuff. You get a smoker now. You're talking about doing like an elk shoulder or something. 2 days. Like you can get exotic with that, and I kind of dig that idea, right?
That sounds cool.
Yeah,
how about we sponsor a bull and oyster roast, but we do exotic meat?
Oh yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, and you don't even have to be good at it. If you just smoked anything, you like just pick a meat, put it in there for like 48 hours, and come back.
Man, I gotta tell you, like Amazon Prime had the digital, like it was a no brand digital thermometer that Bluetooths to your phone.
Yeah.
Just stick it in there and walk away.
Easy enough. And I think some of it, like, talk about things that get you motivated. Like that Blackstone has motivated me to cook as many meals outside as I possibly can. Why? That thing's fucking awesome.
Yeah, they look like so much fun.
They're amazing. My kids got it for me for Father's Day, and it's like, I kind of almost feel like a dick because like I love it so much that now I want the much larger one.
I gotcha.
I don't want to like hurt anyone's feelings, and we'll make this one work. But like, it's that useful. Like you're like, well, wait a minute, hold on a second. This is fucking amazing.
Man, I want you to Google this when we get off. It's called La Caja China.
Okay.
And it's from, I believe it's from Mexico. It's not Chinese, but they just called it a Chinese box. And it looks like a push wagon.
Okay.
But you put coals underneath. It's got a rack that like clamps down on the meat. And then you put coals on top and you're cooking from both sides. So it's not smoking. And it's grilling at a pretty high heat. But like the only reason I haven't bought one is I got this tiny ass backyard.
Yeah.
And like you could do like 2 suckling pigs on the small
What?
one. Yeah, I mean like I don't need to cook that much and it takes a lot of stuff, but I'm like, dude, if I was the entertainer I thought I was.
Sure.
Hey, you want to come over? We're gonna have 15 chickens. You know, we're gonna roast 15 chickens on one go.
15 chickens at one time. Yeah, everybody be ready in 6.5 minutes.
I've seasoned everyone differently. You got to have a piece of every one of them.
Yeah, yeah. But yet, so you know what that does for me though?
Mm-hmm.
It makes me like come up with new ways to use this tool, and like the food has gotten very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a slicer, like a little 6-inch slicer.
I was looking at one. I had a friend that's like, dude,
like
I found you one on Marketplace. He was like, look, this is, but he got like a deli. He's like found a deli style one. And I'm like,
sure.
I don't
That's
need
what I have. It's a deli slicer.
It is like, it was like countertop. Like,
oh yeah,
fuck
that.
Like, dude, I live in a townhouse.
Yeah.
Like,
do that. This one is like fits on the counter. It's a 6-inch blade. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? There's a bread one on there too. So when I make a fresh loaf of sourdough, you put it through there and like the bread on the other side literally looks like you bought it.
Sliced.
Like it's perfect. Right. And I'm like, dude, this thing is amazing. But tell you what's really fucking good. Sliced paper thin onions on the flat top. Shit is like absolutely bonkers.
Yeah. Cause I'm sure they get,
you know what you need to make it good? Nothing. Like literally nothing. A little ghee and just it is like salt, pepper, ghee, and paper thin.
Oh man, look, I got my 11-year-old's pretty picky.
Yeah,
I was doing the lazy man. I was just getting roast beef already cut, mixing it with like caramelized onions, and then making just basically Philly cheesesteaks.
Oh yeah.
Nice. and provolone, and she was like, this is the best thing in the world. Can we have these all the time? And I was like, as long as you're going to eat something other than chicken nuggets, yeah, definitely.
Sure.
But
that's it's one of those things where it's like if you've got enough, and it's stupid because like you should be able to enjoy food without making it crazy, but like we got this like $10 zoodler, right? You stick a zucchini,
in there,
and then just turn the thing, and it makes spaghetti out of it. You know what? Shit ain't half bad, right? Like, and I hate zucchini.
Your kids. Well, your kids are a little older than a year older than mine, but
I mean, they don't love it, but I fucking hate zucchini, dude. It's like one of those foods that I have a visceral reaction to. I fucking hate
I ate it all the time growing up, and I don't even remember what my family did with it. And I ate it and I didn't dislike it, but it's like, for me, it's like, there's so many other vegetables that taste better.
Sure. It's a vile vegetable. I can't.
It is so, for me, it is like the Wonder Bread.
Right.
Of vegetables. It's like, there's no real taste. You can throw a shit ton of salt on it and give it some kind of, but like, my wife was like, oh, I'm going to do half of it like this. And then she roasted half of it. And then like the next day, I'm like, we didn't even bother throwing this out last night. It's like, let me scrape this right into the garbage at 6 a.m. No.
All of that. No.
But like eggplant's another thing. It's weird. That used to get me super inflamed. You don't like eggplant?
No, you know what? I don't know what it is either, but like, I think it's because the first time I ever had it, I had an eggplant Parmesan, and it was like probably the best version of eggplant. If you're not gonna like eggplant, the only hope you have is eggplant parm, right?
Well, like honestly, let's say like you cover anything in a good tomato sauce and cheese.
That's right.
I mean, like, do I really like chicken cutlets, or do I like tomato sauce and mozzarella?
Most likely that.
Yeah, right? I mean, the most inflammatory parts of that, other than the fried,
Yeah.
The nightshade and the cheese, please. Yes.
You know what is interesting about this food plan is there's no chicken, which I find very interesting. And it's no.
Can you
now
you
hold
get
on?
a chance
no
to ask
chicken
them?
for my disruptor type, right? So it's for my
it's
type.
specific to you.
So here's what I find interesting about it. I haven't had chicken in several weeks, obviously, and my family was not red meat eaters. My wife met me in the middle at I'll eat chicken and turkey, but she was mostly a vegetarian when we met.
Yeah.
I was mostly a straight up red meat only kind of guy, and we met with chicken, right? Like that's sort of like our Switzerland, right?
Like if I gotta kill something,
right. So, but here's the thing: I've never really liked chicken all that much, right?
Yeah,
like I find it acceptable, but like I never loved it. I always got weirdly super hungry after eating chicken. Like,
what's your disruptor type? I'm wondering how they break those up too. I feel like they're giving you enough to know why you're doing what you're doing, but they're not giving away the secret sauce, as it were.
Well, and I honestly, whatever it is, and I can't wait to talk to them again. But I mean, I can tell you like that particular thing specifically the chicken thing. It's been a noticeable difference in my food. Like I had chicken 5 to 6 days a week prior to this.
Yeah, because it's a lean, healthy protein
that my whole family can eat.
Right? Yeah, so that everybody would come together on. Yeah,
right. Like like Sarah's not going to eat like a lamb chop, right? Like that.
See, my wife's like that, and I'm like, look, I'll eat a burger 6 days a week, and she's like, nope, don't like ground beef. Right. Now, if we were like, I got to buy like a quarter cow if we're going to eat steaks every day. Like we just that's insanity.
No, yeah.
And I don't want to just eat shit steaks. We had Casey on and he's like, no, you can go to Costco.
Yeah, get $10.
I was like, hey, but like the hormones and the
he could probably do that. I cannot.
But that's also the other thing, right? I think to each their own, and that's where it gets really dicey when we start saying, oh, this is bad, that's good, when we assign a judgment to any of the foods.
Well, I'm not judging. I'm simply saying, and I know, I that's always a good point to call out because I think a lot of people do take it as judgy, but I'm like, listen, man, I've done all the research a human can do on this.
Yeah.
Who's not an actual scientist who gets paid to fucking study.
Yeah.
Right. And my decision was I would not do that.
Yeah. If you're gonna eat the red meat, you're gonna get the grass fed. Yeah.
And I'm super picky now because now it's like I had a farmer. She retired unfortunately, and I'm down to my last like 10 steaks, none of which I can
in the deep freeze, and you're like, all right, this has got to be a special day.
Yeah, and but I can't eat it during here because it's basically I can't really have any fat, so I'm eating a lot of like round steak and stuff that has like no fat
the leaner cuts and everything.
Yeah.
So you've been leaning into bison. Like I fucking love bison. My family doesn't. It upsets me so much. Like I used to have a French bulldog. If I pull bison out of the freezer, like I don't know how good his sense of smell was, but he knew it was bison. Like it was a brick, and he was still like, "You're going to share that with me."
Yeah, for sure.
And then my wife was like, oh, "I can't really do this." And then like Moncton Bison Farm. I don't know if you ever went up there when it was still open. Oh my God, they're sloppy Joe. Like it's so stupid. It was like literally ground bison and fucking ketchup.
Sure,
but it was insane.
Yeah. No, it's so good. I mean, it was
so good.
Yeah. And like, here's the thing: grass finished or grass fed, grass finished, is different than grass fed, grain finished, and certainly different than grain fed, grain finished.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, of those three, grass
all the way,
combination,
all the way,
right? So even metabolically, like I feel different when I eat one of those steaks from when I eat a store one. There's a totally different flavor profile for sure, but I could eat a 14-ounce ribeye from the store and be like, God, that was good, and be fucking stuffed.
Yeah.
I eat a 14-ounce ribeye from a grass-fed, grass-finished cow. I'm like fulfilled, but not like stuffed.
See, right? and I will say, like, there was one time, and this was with bison, pound of ground bison. I ate an entire pound of burgers.
Sure.
and was
I
like,
could do that with my eyes closed.
I could have had more.
Sure.
And I didn't feel like bloated and heavy and tired afterwards. I was like, no, I'm good.
And the next morning when I wake up, I'm fucking like ready for sustenance.
Ready to eat. Yeah.
Like whatever it does, it kicks my fucking my body into like super high speed mode. Now, when I take out all of that, because obviously I'm getting grass finished round steaks, like just because I'm switching. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I feel like my body is like basically just running on all cylinders.
Can you do eggs or no on this? Nope. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Albumin.
I think it's a lipid profile thing.
And the yolk. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I think interestingly, like one of the things was if you had a stall day, which I'm on day 2 of a stall, by the way. I'm not exactly thrilled about that.
Yeah.
Because this is stupid. But feel free to make fun of me. But I'm 180.8 right now.
Dude, I'm like 60 pounds heavier than you or something.
No, but hold on. but I was stalled for 2 days. I haven't seen 170 in like 10 years.
And is that the goal for you?
No, 170 something. Like I got up to 180 and I basically stayed there for 14 years, like 13 years. Something,
okay.
Right? Like didn't move. Like, if I didn't take a shit, maybe I was 182. Right. Like, but like I was essentially 180 pinned. Yeah. Didn't matter what I did. I'm like 0.8 pounds away from a 170 something.
Yeah. You just want to see it say 1.7 something.
I just want to see it.
When I did the HCG diet, I was about 210, and I got down to 180, and like I looked like a head on a stick. It didn't look right.
Yeah.
But like, skinny jeans were all the rage then, and it's like, look, I fucking hate them. Like, give me if I had a Janko budget, I'd be wearing Jankos again. But it's like, the carpenter jeans that were baggy. Sure. Love those.
With the hammer, with a hammer
loop. Because you need a hammer loop on you.
You need a hammer loop. Why not?
Right. I have a pair of tie khakis with like a little funny mushroom cartoon patch on the back, and it's got a hammer loop on it. Sure. I'm like, why are you going to put a hammer on drawstring?
Yeah, I mean,
that sounds like a bad idea.
Because that guy is definitely drawstringing his pants together.
Yeah, the construction worker is definitely not wearing a belt or suspenders. But it's so funny because like I bought this pair of skinny jeans, and immediately somebody's like, "Oh my God, you're wearing skinny jeans!" And I'm like, "This is the first time and probably the only time I'll ever fit into them." And then when I started powerlifting, like Joe McClinsky saw me probably a few months ago. He's like, "Dude, you're a fucking diesel now." And I'm like, I'm kind of pudgy, actually. It's just I have more muscle mass, so it's hidden better.
So don't mistake this. Well, listen, your workouts are way beyond anything I'd ever consider.
Well, look, man, I'm going back. Our coach, to his credit, like the owner of the gym, he's always playing. He's always reading this guy, Pavel, who's like this Russian physical therapist. He's insanely intelligent, and he started doing this.
Super famous.
Yeah, super famous, and he started doing this AXE protocol, which is like, look, here's the rules. You're going to go heavy. You're going to do a few reps. You're going to do a lot of every minute on the minute type things, but at no point should you not be able to have a conversation. At no point should you get winded, and every time you put the weight down, you're going to walk around. And it's so weird because you're in like, you're not in the red zone ever. Sure. You're in like zone 2, zone 3 is the goal, right? We don't want to get our heart rate up. And I watched him do it for 6 months before he rolled it out. He's smaller than he's ever been, but he might be stronger than he's ever been. And that might include when he won Maryland's Strongest Man.
Yeah, but that makes all the sense in the world.
Absolutely.
To me, actually. Yeah, like nothing about that. I mean, now all this research is coming out about the like walking, and like you got to get, what is it, 3 miles an hour for 30 minutes at a 16 pitch or something. Yeah. So basically you got this crazy, on a treadmill, you've got this crazy incline.
Yeah.
And you're not going fast though, and your heart rate's supposed to stay reasonably small. They say basically it's like doing a Tabata on steroids. It just fucking kills your body into like fucking going crazy.
And you know how many like 100-year-old women there are that do that just because that's their lifestyle? Like, hey,
Sure.
I live in the mountains.
Yeah, and I'm going walking every day.
And I don't have a car.
Right.
And
I think that's totally where those workouts kind of originate from, right? Like,
but isn't it so weird? Look, dude, I even on this, I did this podcast, and I'm super excited for when it comes out. She was super sweet, but like, I'm talking about this therapy, and I was like, look, this was traditionally done in the households, and we're starting to have this renaissance of traditional practices. Like, right, I've said it more than once on this show, even that, like, look, if you were outside more, you wouldn't need the red light. If you were outside more, you wouldn't need the cold plunge. If you're outside more, you wouldn't need the sauna. And it's like, well, what are you going to be doing if you're outside? Probably walking somewhere.
Sure.
It's like, oh, shit, we were designed not to do this.
Sure.
Yeah. It's
well, we had to make it. Yeah, we had to make it to wherever we were going, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we had to have enough oomph to get there, right?
Yeah.
And so, we're pretty robust. But yeah, I mean, even like the light doctor, man, even once we had him on the show, when I started.
I started reading his book. It's so straightforward. It's so approachable for a guy that is that cerebral.
Well,
it's a great book.
I love that I took my sunglasses for my morning walk off, and I've never felt better in my life.
Yeah.
That fucking walk with no sunglasses.
I think you have so many variables going on, man.
No, but
I think you're doing so many things in the right direction, No,
but that predated my.
Oh, it did predate the diet.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
all right. Yeah. Well, and it was a super, super stupid tweak. It wasn't even that hard, right? Like, what did I do? I just left my sunglasses at home.
You know what? I drive the kids to school in the morning with my wife, and I just stopped putting on the sunglasses, just sitting there.
Same thing. Yeah, it's
great.
Right.
It's
honestly,
okay, look, when it hits 10 a.m., I'll probably throw them on because the sun will be right in my eyes, but. Until 8 o'clock in the morning, it's not that bad.
And what I found interesting is I'll get up and I'll do my 25 minutes of like self-care, the meditation, whatever. Then I'll get up and I'll go take like a 30-minute walk outside. And I'll do that with no sunglasses. And it's like I said, it's like this holistic effect, right? Like I've got this ritual. I feel like Brian Johnson a little bit on a much, much, much less neurotic.
On a free budget.
Yeah.
That's all free shit.
Not quite free. I mean,
well, no, not the way you're doing it, but it could be.
But my point is I'm basically introducing a dozen things before I start my day. And like, again, if you on-ramp better.
Yeah.
Then once you're on the highway, you're not already fucking torn down from the on-ramp like I used to be. So now I go into a day and I'm like, let's move, right? Like, let's do it. And then I'm going. And then when things inevitably come up, I'm not so ragged from trying to get to the highway because I took a very calm...
you fueled up before you left, kind of thing.
Correct, and now I'm all set.
Yeah,
and like so, by the end of the day, I'm ready to kind of take a break.
Now you got to make that walk on the ground with no shoes on.
So that's my next thing. Is I'm wondering, is it time to really put a grounding mat underneath my desk and just
look,
sit
man? I'm sitting like I got my feet on one right now.
Sure.
I really hope it's doing something. I had a friend, and unfortunately her husband passed, but her husband was an MD, but like on the research side. And we worked together at this chain of wellness centers, and somebody came in and talked about earthing, and then that was like the buzzword. And
sure,
she bought the mattress pad, and he's like, all right, we're going to put on the Fitbit. We're going to quantify your sleep.
Sure.
And he just crunched numbers, and he's like,
did it work?
No, she actually slept less.
Oh, that's funny.
And I said, well, was it more restful? And she goes, no, apparently I'm not hitting deep sleep as much. And who knows what was going on? There's so many variables. It's real hard to tease out in an N of one, right?
Sure, but like that is interesting information and probably not altogether surprising, right? Like, you think you're doing this thing, and
but I mean, how many times? I it's so funny to me because like part of what the Beamer's doing, clearly it is generating a field. I don't believe it's not doing what it says it does.
No, and I told you.
Your ankle feels better.
Fiction to me, man. I mean, my ankle.
But I'm wondering how much having your feet on bare earth would have promoted that maybe on a much milder standpoint, right? It's like the cryotherapy. Well, you can go outside and get a little cold, or you can jump in my chamber and get really fucking cold for 3 minutes.
Right.
You know, both will do it. You got to be outside longer. You know?
Well, yeah, and that's sort of the thing, right? Like my buddy who said that, you know, cold water showers are the same as cold water immersion, and I laughed at him. I'm like, they are not at all the same thing.
Do each and then get back to me, right? You know, it's like, and it's not, believe me, I do think you can get a lot of benefits from a cold shower.
Yeah, but it's not even in the same zip code, right? Like,
but look, man, I know when I do a cold shower, I'm like, all right, I'm going to put my face in. All right, now I'm going to put my front in. All right, now I'm going to get my back in. And then when you're sitting in that fucking tub and you're like, all right, I'm just gonna scooch up a little and get my nipples out of the water.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Why? It's too much.
It's too much.
It's too much.
So what I like about my little stack now, and I found out there on that Beamer call the other day that I told you I was going on. Like,
so you did do it? Like I can't make.
Yeah, no, I did it. And like the guy
6-hour, 8-hour trainings.
So here's the funny thing: the guy who was the speaker was talking about in his practice, he would put neuropathy patients. He uses it for a peripheral neuropathy for diabetes and stuff, right?
Makes sense.
And he uses Beamer mat for that. And so he said, you know, there's a certain group of people where it was working, but it wasn't really working great. And so they start looking at ways to augment it. And he found out about red light therapy. And then he was alternating, like, okay, you'll do a red light therapy, you'll do a Beamer session, whatever. And it was showing results. And then he used and Beamer actually has a red light spot, right? Where that's like just for one targeted area.
Yeah.
So what he did would put them on the mat and do PMF, and you can do 2 applications on one of on the head unit.
Yeah. So
the other one was the red light hard little puck, and I think they have theirs at like a 660 frequency.
That seems pretty standard, right? The
632
is really hard to get. Yeah,
my Violite in my nose is 633.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like up there, and I think my red light panels are 660 and 820, like the far and near, you know. So anyway, they were near and far. I can never remember which one is which.
It's near. Yeah. So far is going to feel more like heat.
But you don't see it, correct?
You definitely don't see it. Yeah, but near infrared you don't see either. It's right outside of that. You know, man, it sounds so cool. I forget which scientist it was, but he was experimenting with the wavelengths, right, of different colors of light.
Right.
And he did an experiment, and this is probably going back to like the 1700s. So he took the prism, the lights get laid out, and he laid a thermometer in each one of the lights. And then as a test, he laid one on the other side of the red. And that one got hotter than every other one. And he's like, oh, shit, there must be something there.
Sure.
And that's how we discovered both infrared and ultraviolet, because those are outside of those spectrums. Yeah. So they were different temperatures.
So yeah. And what were we talking about that got on that? Fuck, I forgot. We
were talking about the Beamer with the red light.
Yeah. And so the guy then put them both at the same time.
Yeah.
And he said all of a sudden,
that was the magic switch. Like the only thing I would add to that is like some kind of oxygen, like exercise with oxygen therapy, hyperbaric, or even just nasal cannula, maybe just getting the serum oxygen up a little bit.
So I was actually going to talk to you about that, because I actually might go do an Alibaba, like a 5-quart, you know, or a 5-liter
EWAT kind of machine.
So I don't know about an EWAT machine, just an oxygen generator to begin with.
So look,
or do you think EWAT, you just go with that?
So part of the thing is the EWAT, you do need the adaptive contrast. You do need to starve yourself a little and then get it in, because like, honestly, like go buy a pulse oximeter, you know, okay, throw it on. You're going to be at 98 to 100%
I'm 97 to 99.
But like, so 1% more is not going to rock your world. The trick is to get it in the serum of so it will increase it a little. A hyperbaric chamber is only going to increase it. A soft shell hyperbaric, let me clarify that. You know, the consumer models are only going to get you about 30% more serum oxygen for 30 hours, right? And that's great. but you'd have to incorporate an hour-long dive into your routine daily to see something significant.
Which is impractical, obviously.
You know, unless you have a TBI or you have autism or you have long
it's
COVID.
impractical for people with a job.
Yeah. I mean, unless you're Michael Jackson and you want to sleep in one. But even then, you know, so the EWAT does that 433%, up to 433%, I think is what they got with the adaptive contrast in about 15 to 20 minutes.
Right.
So the dose is twice a week. You don't even have to do a daily thing, right? You know, and it's a weird thing, like maybe 3 times if you really wanted to like make sure you got your bases covered, but then it would have to be rotating 3 times a week. And it's like, I don't like that. Why? Because I like, it's going to be Monday, Thursday. It's going to be Monday, Thursday. I don't want to have to go like, all right, it's Monday, Thursday, and then it's Tuesday, then it's Friday, and then like, fuck that. No. But within that, you also have this thing where oxygen oxidizes shit, including you. You know, so you don't want to overdo it, which is why like the Nano V, that nasal thing, that like, you know, it's a little microphone that like blows thing, and that's supposed to reduce all those free radicals and that free oxygen. So I don't. This is where like I didn't pull the trigger on that one because I was like, I don't know, man. You don't have any studies of like basic research outside of.
So wait, so you're saying that I could, if I did EWAT 7 days a week, I could be basically giving myself.
I don't think you would. But part of the issue and part of the reason there aren't more of these, like, you know, the kind of hyperbaric chambers you get when you have the bends, or when you're a car victim or a burn victim, horrible auto accident, or you're trying to do wound healing. Those chambers are 100% oxygen under pressure. So a regular hyperbaric, a soft-shelled one, as opposed to the crunchy ones, is like you're getting normal oxygen, and they'll kick that up with a nasal cannula hooked up to an oxygen concentrator just to make sure you're getting a little bit more oxygen, but it's nowhere near those ones if you were getting the bends. I'm going to put you under pressure with pure oxygen.
That's got to be a super controlled environment.
And look, you need somebody that's certified running the machine.
Sure.
One of the biggest issues is a weird kind of retinopathy where you go blind from oxygen.
Oh, wow.
It's super fucking weird. And you know, like when I was looking into buying the hyperbaric, which we had for like a year at our office, it just got to the point where it wasn't even ethical for me to charge people for it, because it's like, if you really wanted to do this right, you could rent one cheaper than I can let you use mine, even if I did like a gigantic, like, here's an 80 visit package. No, I that's still going to be about $2,000, and you can rent one for about that, and probably cheaper now.
Right.
And then it's in your basement, and you can fucking take a nap in it and be in there for 3 hours if you wanted to.
Right. But again, it's one of those things, like, there's certain things I'd want to put at my house, like a beamer mat, like an infrared sauna. Like,
yeah, see, like if I was going to
do those things at my house,
if I was going to do a hyperbaric, I would want enough room to have, and they do have ports in there that you can get like a cord through, like they got to be like super tight and you have to fit them just right. But I would port in a PEMF pad and a red light, and then, you know, like turn over halfway through somewhere, you know, and it would have to be on some kind of a timer where you're only doing like the 20 minutes of red light or something.
Yeah, and I think that was my next idea, is like, instead of having like it, like, is there a way I can put my beamer mat against the wall, pin it to the wall, right, and hold it up, and then I lean back against the wall and have the red light panel in front of me?
I almost think it would be easier for you to get a horizontal mount for your red light.
Well, that's
like they have an arm, and then like, but same thing, and structurally, just, you know, at least you're laying down there.
I have a little bit more positive connection with the mat if I did it that way, which is,
because your body weight's on it,
because your body weight's on there. So
and I mean, they sell those arms on Alibaba for the red light panels, and they're dirt cheap.
I'm curious, like, you know, if I did you know, a 10-minute, I could do a 10-minute, get this for a nerd out, right? I could do a 10-minute sensate on my back so that it can sit on my sternum. When that ends, when I've got red light in front of me on the mat, when that ends, I can rotate, lose the sensate, go to the Muse headband, lay down on my stomach.
See, I'm so weird meditating laying down because I almost inevitably fall asleep.
See, I don't think I have that problem, but I do see that as like if I was hungover or if I was tired or if I stayed up too late or whatever. Like,
and honestly, the red light for me is so fucking relaxing.
It's super relaxing.
And it's so weird because the light is so intense when it first starts. And then you're like, oh, I don't even notice that anymore.
I don't even notice it. Yeah, no, I'm definitely, I mean, I love it. And actually, because I've been kind of mending my ankle and whatnot, I have not been, and it's been summer. I dial out of the red light in the summer. I feel like I don't need it.
Well, you know, look, you know, I feel like if you're outside more,
I'm outside all summer, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's a big problem, right? But now it's October.
Well, and we also have had a storm hanging out over Baltimore for a week and a half or something.
Yeah, it's supposed to rain until like next Wednesday.
You know what kept getting weird when Alexa kept screaming, "Hey, you know the flood warning," and they're like the 27th, and I'm like, it's the 20th. Yeah, like what the fuck? You mean it's a week?
Yeah, fucking ridiculous. So. Anyway, listen, man, we could talk all night.
Oh, shit. This one went quick.
Yeah, super quick. But what do you, it's been a while since I've gotten to ask.
So, we haven't asked that in a while, man.
What are you getting into?
Look, man, I have found a book that has rekindled my love of East Asian medicine. It's called Moon Over Matsushima. It was written all about moxibustion, so the herb that we burn on near the surface of the skin. And it's a 300-page book. I should be... Like that's not that big, but like the history section, it doesn't read like a textbook, right? He's got different parts, but the history section had me like sitting there going, where the fuck is Bactria and when did it exist and where is it? Yeah. And I'm like, hold on, the Dutch Trading Company in Vietnam. But like, and I'm like, all right, dude, I sucked at history. And now we're into the actual moxibustion practice. And he's blowing my mind with like all these extra points and these treatments that it's like, wait, hold on. This was pre the textbook that we all misquote. Oh shit, you know? So funny. I'm like, I'm in love with it. I'm telling everybody that's an acupuncturist, if you haven't read this, you don't know shit. Yeah. But I love it, man. What are you up to?
That's awesome. I
other than I think that's 4 weeks great about.
No, I think that's what's cool about like where we're at with information. One really exciting thing about AI that I just have always loved, like that I really do love, and I think will ultimately be one of the biggest things that we'll use as soon as we figure out how to use the Play-Doh. Like it'll be great, but recycling or upcycling information that's been kind of lost to the dusty shelves of libraries and stuff. Like we're in a space where everyone's struggling to stand out in a crowd because marketing is dense and there's a lot of people on the planet, and you know, and it's great to see like old things come new again. And then we've got so many horizontal connectors that we're like, oh, it's like this thing, and oh, look at that, how did we forget this? We've got 9 other practices that came out of this. Like, what? You know, but you know what, we've probably forgotten way more than we know, absolutely, like as humans, right? Absolutely. Like, so to have the visibility back into something like that is an amazing gift, because you're like, wow, I can, like, we were thinking about this like a really long time ago. Like,
you know, and that's always been crazy to me when I talk about cupping, right? Sure. The first book that we have as a reference book was the Ebers Papyrus out of ancient Egypt, 1515 BC. In it, it describes, and I say this all the time on podcasts because it's like, you guys think it was aliens. You guys don't realize we've had this brain for what, 40,000 years.
Sure.
They describe nose reconstruction after it's been degloved. So like, boom, nose gets cut off. They knew enough to like graft the skin off the forehead. They knew enough that they couldn't cut it completely, so they would turn it over and flip it, so you still had vasculature feeding it. So it didn't die. And this is 1515 BC.
Imagine how much that surgery hurt.
Well, but here's the other thing. They mention in it anesthesias that we don't know what they were, right? There's even in China, there was this famous surgeon, and he had something that we know had cannabis in it, and it had datura, this other psychedelic in it that's like you don't fuck with that one. That's not one that you know about. Why? Because it'll kill you more than it'll fuck you up and get you high, right? But this guy had a formula that had both of those things in it. And did he do this? Probably not. But he was supposed to, like, they always give you like some godlike status. He did a double heart replacement. This guy has the wrong heart. That guy has the wrong heart. I'm going to switch him.
Wow.
And like they give him credit. Like, did that happen? They're like, is he a good surgeon? Yeah, he fixed two hearts.
You know what that means, though? That means that they had the cognitive bandwidth to understand that that's a thing that could happen.
I mean, it blows my mind.
Yeah, like that I think the biggest problem, I think, in humans in general is that they don't have the imagination to even think about what could be possible. And then when you get new information, they still don't know. Whereas other people get new information, they're like, I just had 5,000 highly explosive ideas because I got this one piece of data.
Well, look, man, when you told me like what you're doing with AI, like, do you know how excited? Like, I understood what you were saying. The technical end, I have no idea how that fucking works. But I'm like, you just described to me, like, you just built an entire like newspaper worth of employees, like the way an old school newspaper would be. And you did that using AI. And I was like, that is fucking mind blowing.
And here's the thing. It's like every day I wake up now, I'm so far into this that like I'm actually rewriting. I've rewritten that thing 3 times now. Now I'm using the one right, that's done, which is something I had to get around because I could just ideate and skunk work things.
Well, but I feel that's the artist in you, right? Like, one more line. Oh, just let me add this.
Yeah. Let me add this thing. But like, here's the thing. Like, the reality is like my imagination is finally catching up with my dexterity, as it were, I guess, for lack of a better term. And like, that's where I think that was my biggest rate limiter, right? It wasn't that I didn't know how to do the code part or didn't have the cognitive ceiling to understand how to do the code part, I should say, because it's a little heady. Like, it's not easy. It's not hard if you know what you're doing, but it's also not. Like
there is a learning curve.
Yeah, there's a learning, and it's fairly steep. And if you have had no code experience, it's even steeper, right? And so, but here's the thing: my big rate limiter was my imagination. It was me. I was the only problem.
I feel like that's the truth with everything, and even like, man, I love that Ancient Aliens show.
I love it.
But we're trying
it's like, desperately to get him on the show. By the way,
are you fucking kidding me, man? I just. And we almost have the poop doctor. I made a good contact. I got a response. I'm just waiting.
Nice.
But if that poop doctor doesn't work, I will find another poop doctor.
No, that's fine. I definitely think a poop doctor needs to be talked to.
We might have to talk about plant-based diets, but
I mean, I want to know, is my poop better with
honestly, there's so much research on vegetarianism that like I can't even knock it. I love meat, but like, anyway, but like, it's so amazing to me that like the one thing, there's 2 things that come out of there. They're like, oh, so a bunch of white males can't understand how a bunch of non-white people a few thousand years ago figured out how to make giant structures. So it couldn't have happened. It had to have been aliens. And then 2, like, you idiots, we've always had this brain. What we haven't had is massive distractions.
Totally. Yeah. But in that, I think that's the thing. That's where I'm like, as much as a guy like me can be like, oh, the whole world's going to be AI in 6 months. The reality is it's not. And the reason it's not is because most people are not thinking like that.
But they don't even, how much is AI interacting with your world? It doesn't.
It doesn't. Right.
Right. And it might very well, they just don't know it.
Well, it probably does.
Yeah.
At a minimum, most of the Facebook ads and TikTok things that they're scrolling through have been created with AI.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Like they're, at a minimum.
At a minimum,
But and I'm like trying to like temper my soapbox about the social media thing, because like the reality is I'm not going to change the world in this. I think it's completely ridiculous waste of human energy, and like to squander 1 minute of my very short life with something as inconsequential as like doom scrolling my TikTok feed.
Yeah.
I don't want to judge other people, but I highly would judge myself if I got into that. I'd be like, this would be like picking up a heroin habit for me.
I totally get that, because like I find myself like I posted something on Facebook and I didn't mean to. And then it's like, oh shit, now I'm drawn back in. And then I saw a post that upset me and I was like, God, why did I even go back on?
And that's what Facebook wants, right?
Yeah.
And we can,
I saw a Zuckerberg post where he's holding Arlo or Woody Guthie's guitar, and it says, "This algorithm creates fascists," and I was like, "Fuck, it does. It so does."
Yeah. I mean,
it so does.
I saw a funny billboard the other day on a building that was half finished. It was like under construction. It said, "ChatGPT, finish this building," and I was like, "Fucking."
Look, man, they're 3D printing buildings left and right now. Totally. It's only a matter of time till you walk up to Home Depot, you press a couple of buttons, tell them what you want.
Yeah, and it's like airdropped.
They airdrop the printer out there.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man.
Yeah, man. Great as always.
Good talking to you. You bet. Enjoy.
All right, take it easy.
Later.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.